up everyone? Welcome back to Codeborn. In this episode, we're going to cover some simple resume tips that will improve your chances of getting leads and improve the quality of the leads that you do get. If you like Codeborn, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you want to show support, head over to our Patreon page. To start, writing resumes is an art, not a science, and it's not an easy task, so don't feel bad if you find it difficult. As a consultant, I found most of my work using inbound leads, which was a nice, easy way to automate finding work. Unfortunately, this process is heavily dependent on your resume and the quality of its content. A bad resume will bring in bad leads or no leads at all, while a great resume will attract higher quality leads. So what I'm going to share with you is simply what I've found to be effective for my purpose, but these tips will work for any developer resume in general. Let's start with what not to do. First off, never lie. Now this might seem obvious, but it happens. Don't lie about what you did, what you know, or what positions you held. It's also important that you don't mislead the reader into believing something that isn't true, because misleading them is still lying to them, and eventually, lying will catch up with you. Don't include a list of tools, technologies, or skills at the top of your resume. Also, don't include any irrelevant skills. For example, if you're looking for a job working with .NET, then adding Photoshop as a skill isn't going to do you any good. Don't worry about describing your skills, we'll get to that later. Don't include salary or wages. You may have heard that you have to list your previous salary or wage, but this isn't true. An employer, previous or current, cannot disclose how much you earned without your permission. So the only way someone will know what you earned is if you tell them. Remember when I told you not to lie? This is one exception. If you're trying to advance your career and your bank account, being honest about what you made is a bad strategy. Why? If you made $50K a year at your last job and you're applying for a new job that has a range between $50K and $75K, you probably want that $75K, right? But the problem is, if the hiring manager already knows that you made $50K previously, then you have to justify them paying you an additional $25K in salary. You've already told them that you made $50K, so they'll think that you should be okay getting $50K again. In reality, they'll probably offer you $55K, but the point is you'll miss out on maximizing your gains. It's very hard to justify that significant bump in salary range. But what if you didn't have to justify that increase? What if you already made $70K? Then asking for $75K seems much less significant. My point is, when asked about what your current or previous salary was, you'll want to respond with a figure that is close to the range you actually want. If you want $75K, say that you made $70K. Always say that you made slightly less than what you really want, but don't claim that you made $100K, but now you're asking for $75K. That doesn't work unless you're clearly making a career shift. But even then, it's risky. You really don't want to say you made what you're asking for either, because that usually raises suspicion. Most people looking for a new job ask for more money than they made previously, so asking for the same salary may give a bad impression and lead to more questions about your current situation. It's best to just avoid it. Keep in mind that if you want to earn $75K a year, then you really need to be worth it. Be honest with yourself. Can you really do the job they ask, and will your contributions really be worth it? There's no point in getting a new job with a higher salary if you're only there for a few months. And a final point on this is that if you're claiming you made $70K and you're asking for $75K, then your resume should be a reflection of that. But that's what the point of this episode is, right? Let's move on to what you should be doing. Add a paragraph about yourself. In the place where you had your skills listed, or just at the top of the resume, add in a paragraph or two about yourself and describe who you are, your contributions to the community, the work you do on your own, personal achievements you've had such as awards, recognitions, or earned degrees. Keep all of this information relevant to your career. No one wants to read about how you spend time with your dog or how long you've been married. This is where you will sell yourself and give insight into the kind of person the hiring manager is looking at, and it'll give context to the rest of your resume, which will go a long way to giving the reader a clear picture of who you are. Be a doer. I've seen many resumes with job summaries that are little more than a list of tasks. For example, I built a website using PHP, and I fixed bugs. This might be absolutely true and an exact representation of what you actually did at the job, but one, it's boring, and two, it's not descriptive. Instead, it should read something like, developed B2B portal, including integration with Salesforce. Now that is descriptive and telling. Additionally, you'll want to include related items when possible, like worked closely with project managers to validate project requirements for technical feasibility, or something like that. You want to showcase that you're not just a drone and that you can communicate with other teams. The point being that no one wants to read a boring list of things you did. You'll need to spend some time doing some creative writing, use a thesaurus, find a better way to explain what you did in a descriptive language using 1 or 2 sentences. Be an achiever, not a doer. Now, while being a doer is much better than not, it's not as good as being an achiever. So what's the difference? It's just more creative writing. A doer's resume is full of task-based bullet points, while an achiever's resume is full of result-based achievements. Instead of developed B2B portal, including integrations with Salesforce, it should read, developed B2B portal, which increased revenue by 50%. Reduced sales administrative overhead by integrating B2B portal with Salesforce. This conveys the work that was done, but also frames it as an achievement, showing results. It also demonstrates that you were connected to the work and not just the drone. Now, you may not know how much revenue was increased, or what you did may not have had any impact on revenue, but your work did have an impact somewhere. So you need to figure out what it was. Did it impact your team, another team, or department, customers, the company, the planet? Just spend some time thinking about who it impacted and what the benefits were, then write about it. A great example is from a real resume I received recently. Enhanced and maintained an inventory control system. This might sound fancy, but it's really not informative at all. How do we make this better? First, let's break it up. What does enhanced mean? What impact did each enhancement have? Did they add features, improve performance? What does maintained mean? What impact did the maintenance have? Did it reduce downtime? How about the inventory control system itself? What was it for? How critical was this inventory system to the business? What would have happened if the enhancements and maintenance didn't occur? It's easy to get great details from boring one-liners if you just take time to decompose it and ask the right questions. Take the answers you come up with and form a better summary. Embellish, but don't lie. Exaggerate. I always tell people, if your job was to take out the trash, make it sound as if you're some kind of environmental superhero saving the planet. Make your work interesting and exciting to the reader. You don't have to lie, but you don't have to be boring either. Keep most important points at the top. Any significant points you want to showcase, do so at the top of each job summary. This way they don't get lost if the reader decides not to fully read each summary. So what about your skills? Remember how the original job summary included PHP, but we removed it? Now we need to add those skills back in. And we do this at the bottom of each job summary. This is just a list of technology, tools, frameworks, etc. that you used in the previous job. It's up to you what to put in there. Tailor this area to what your goals are. For example, I listed Python in one of my summaries because I did a small project with it, but it wasn't anything significant. The impact of this was I was getting leads for Python jobs all the time, but I was only interested in .NET jobs. So do you leave it in and try to make it look better to the reader, or do you leave it out and prevent search engines from sending irrelevant leads? Add contact info to each page. Just in case you have a multi-page resume, be sure to include your name, email, and phone on the top of each additional page and your cover letter as well, just in case they get lost or separated. Submit to online career sites and update on a regular basis. This is an important tactic. First, you should set up and complete a profile on many different career sites. Fully complete them. The more complete the profile is, the better your chances are. You spend a lot of time creating an effective resume, so put it to use. The trick here is to update your profiles about once a month while you're looking for leads. For example, I log into my Monster account every month and make an update. It could be a new resume version, or just adding a new skill, or rewriting the About Me text. What happens when you make a change is your profile gets moved to the top of the list, and you get visibility, which results in a flood of new leads. So if your leads start to slow down, go make an update to your profiles. Update your LinkedIn profile, or create a LinkedIn profile if you don't already have one. I use mine to mimic my resume, but I also add additional info such as videos or articles that I've created. I've gotten a lot of good leads this way. You'll end up with a ton of recruiters wanting to connect, and they may or may not have something for you, but just make the most of it. Become public by creating public work for showcasing. This is very useful for giving credibility. I've impressed many hiring managers in discussion by mentioning that I wrote an article about the topic we were discussing. Once I mentioned I had written a Pluralsight course, and the interviewer stopped the conversation and asked when I could start. Write blogs, create videos, participate in open source projects. All of these things will benefit you in the long run. And my final tip is to create multiple resumes. If you're like me and you've touched many areas of development, your resume will convey your breadth, but won't necessarily showcase your depth in any particular area. Once you get a lead, they will always ask for a current resume. Create a new version of your resume that focuses heavily on what the lead is looking for. Remove any unnecessary information that is not related to what they're looking for, unless it makes sense to leave it in. Use your wide resume to hook the leads and your narrow resume to reel them in. So that's about it. As I said, writing resumes is an art, it's not a science, and it can be very hard. I didn't even touch on things like formatting, fonts, etc. I recommend writing your resume as best as you can, and take advantage of the free resume evaluation service offered by topresume.com. I thought I had a solid resume, but after submitting it to Top Resume, I got great feedback that made a big difference. Alright, that's it for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you liked this video or found it helpful, click that like button or leave a comment. Thanks for watching.